Mark, welcome on board. I'm not going to call it a podcast. It's not going to be anything like that. I'm a rookie when it comes to this stuff. But me and Mark actually started talking. I was like, wait. Let me just hit record because we always get straight into it like immediately. But as I was saying to Mark before I hit record, the reason I've started doing these podcast conversations, whatever you want to call it, is because I'm having so many conversations with fitness professionals, online coaches who are deeming themselves as unsuccessful because they're not the creme de la creme of an online coach. They're not earning 100 grand a month, 200 grand a month. And I was saying to Mark, I was having a conversation with a young guy a couple of weeks ago, 23 years old, earning 8, 9 grand a month, and he was frustrated that he wasn't where he wanted to be. And I'm like, you're doing good. You're doing really, really good. So no, I want to bring on people like Mark, fitness professionals who have actually got experience, actually doing very well and having a great impact in the industry. And I've known Mark, what was it, about a year now? It feels a lot longer.
Yeah, mate, it does actually feel a lot longer. It feels like we've been friends for ages.
It feels a lot longer than a year, but yeah, I've known Mark for about a year. He very kindly like flew over, trained over, whatever you want to call it, and actually spoke at my event at the start of the year as well. A lot of respect for Mark and Jen, and obviously what you guys are doing in the industry. So yeah, first and foremost, thank you very much for coming on.
No, thank you for the kind words, mate. I hold you in the same regard.
Excellent. So first of all, I always like to start this because there might be a lot of people that don't know who you are. Obviously, I know who you are. So do you want to give a little bit of it depends how long you want to take, giving your story, but do you want to give a bit of a background in regards to like who you are, where you've come from, and ultimately why we're having this conversation today?
Absolutely. So, my name is Mark Strathern. I'm 31 years old. I keep on convincing myself I'm 32. I'm going to be 32 soon. Well, couple of months yet. But I'm 32. I live in Dubai currently with my wife, my dog. And the thing is, people a lot of the time don't even realise that I live in Dubai because I don't live the normal lifestyle like other people in Dubai. I'm genuinely chained to my desk like 24/7 because I actually enjoy what I fucking do. I'm not by the beach. I'm not at beach clubs working, all of this. And I think that this is where a lot of coaches get things wrong. Like freedom for me, freedom is not being able to work at a beach club on my laptop and only do 2 hours of work every single day and make a ton of money. Freedom for me is psychological freedom. So psychological freedom that my business is operating because the results it gets are incredible. And also that I am setting myself up for safety and security in the future. And I think that so many people become disillusioned by that and obviously jump a lot of steps, which we'll probably speak about today. But I started out in the industry in 2014, so it's been over 11 years now, so 11 and a bit years, and I just got into the industry because I really struggled probably kind of growing up. I had a speech impediment, a lot of bullying involved, physical, psychological, kind of emotional bullying. And I kind of got into the gym initially because I wanted to just be strong. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to go against the grain and do something differently because I feel like in school it's very much kind of like what it's like in the fitness industry. You've got all the cool kids that then end up growing up and they were maybe talented or good looking back in the day, and then now they're overweight, they're out of shape, they've not got jobs that they're really passionate about, all of that sort of stuff. But I always knew from a young age, my dad worked incredibly hard. We never really came from much, but he went away and worked incredibly hard overseas to provide for us. So I've seen what it's kind of been like to have nothing. So I realised that if I worked hard, that I could turn it around and people could maybe view me in a different way. So I got into the industry as a result of just working on myself, but quickly realised that it was not really about the body and the transactional kind of transformations. It was more about the deeper transformational stuff. I developed a binge eating disorder at one point as well. And I think that's when I really started to tune into it because I was like, this is all about self-efficacy, self-worth, self-esteem, how you view yourself. And things just changed drastically from there. So I started in an exercise for less, those fucking yellow walls, if you remember them.
Yeah. I was in the fit for lesses, so they were bright green, bogey
Yeah.
green.
Oh, mate, that to be fair, because I would be in the gym for like 14 hours a day and I'd walk out and see the sun and I was like, okay, those walls are not the same colour as the sun because I used to convince myself that the yellow walls were like the sun when I wouldn't see daylight. So
Yeah.
I just was like, if I work hard at this, and I had nothing to fall back on, I didn't really have a lot of qualifications from school. So I was like, if I work hard at this, I'm going to make it successful and I will not let this fail. So there was like 23 other personal trainers in the gym I was working at, more experience, better results sometimes, but I became the busiest in there. And they always used to be like, how is he busier than us when we've been in longer, when we've got a portfolio of results? And it was because I just did things differently. I approached like coaching differently. So once I had left exercise for less. They'd done this thing where you were self-employed, you were paying rent, and then they wanted to take all your clients, pay you a commission, and pay you a really shit salary. So I was like, you can go fuck yourself. So I left, lost about 60% of my client base because I moved to a different area. But then quickly rebuilt that into something special again. Busiest in the gym floor, most probably recognised PT in the local area. At one point, I was doing upwards of 60 sessions on the gym floor while having 85 online clients, travelling the country doing Integra with like Michael Goulden. I'd done like the AM10 personal training mentorship way back when, maybe like 8 years ago. I'd done Mac Nutrition, done work when they were like the muscle mentors. So obviously Cal and the pro coach team when they were the muscle mentors. I'd done cadaver courses, like all of this sort of stuff. Really cool shit because I just wanted to be really fucking good at my job. And that's what we're going to talk about. And then I transitioned online after about 6.5 years because I'd got so tuned on psychology and behaviour change. And then from that, ended up working with a mentorship program as a success coach for them, and done that, coaching coaches to build their businesses for about 4.5 years while I ran my own really successful online coaching program. And then me and Jen obviously founded Built to Coach, which is the industry's first behaviour change course for coaches, putting behaviour change psychology communication into the context of health and fitness coaching. And then we launched Built for Business. So Built for Business is basically applying all of that behaviour change based stuff into the process of business. So understanding how people think, behave, how they buy, all of that sort of stuff. And then we realised that people that done both were getting far more astronomical results. So we're now in the process of combining them, which goes live next month. So we feel like we've been in a big building phase for like 20 plus months. But
when are you not? When are you not?
When are you not? Like, mate, my wife says to me all the time, "You said once you've done this, you're going to chill out, and you always find something else to do." And I'm like, maybe that's the secret, though, to the success.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a phenomenal story. Obviously, a lot of great accolades, obviously along the way as well. And like obviously, that's the blurb of the story. And as you can tell from the blurb of the story, everything that Mark's done throughout that story, which is phenomenal, is to be the best in the world at what he actually does. Not once did he mention the money. Not once did he mention success, fame, riches. Like not once during that entire like run through of what you just said. So just kind of rewinding back a little bit so we can try and unpack like some of those, if that's okay with you. What made you become a personal trainer, and also what helped you get those 60 hours on the gym floor initially when you first started? And I really want to try and unpack each level of that story, if that makes sense, in regards to like why that actually happened, how that happened, just so anyone that's watching this, any coaches that are watching this, can truly understand what it takes to actually achieve those accolades, because it's not as easy as you've just made out. You've worked really hard for it.
Yeah, mate, you're so bang on. So I think this starts like developed the binge eating disorder because of self-esteem, and I'd lost who I was because of all the bullying and trying to fit in and be accepted, like molding myself into what other people wanted me to be. And even at one point when I was nearly 17, I kind of got wrapped up in this kind of wrong crowd. And I shouldn't have, just because I wanted to be accepted by them. And I ended up nearly going to jail. So I actually ended up in court for 4 consecutive weeks for a number of different charges that I never done. I was a part of, but I never done, and I was kind of against. And
Oh, the group.
yeah. That it all ended up getting put on me. I was like, how has it ended up getting put on me? But my mum always said, you fly with the crows, you get shot with the crows. So you need to take responsibility for this, and that's kind of what made me really get into the gym to begin with, because I was like, I'm not on this path I like to be on. And I recognised even then I'd lost myself, because my mum would say, like, even when you were getting picked on at school as a young guy, you would, like primary school kind of ages, you would write the most sincere, heartwarming letters for like Christmas, birthdays. We would be sitting crying at them because we didn't want to cry in front of you. We would show emotion, but we didn't want it to be like, they said they recognised very early in me that if someone cried around me, that I thought that I'd done something wrong. So I always wanted to make people feel good, and it was just the type of person that I was, and I'd lost that along the way. And I think a lot of people do lose that along the way when they're chasing the wrong things. So for me, I realised quite early on that I was very, very selfless, and I truly wanted to like help other people realise that transforming their life through health and fitness could truly change the entire scope of the rest of their life, and that they could change the things about themselves that they didn't like. And I was happy to sacrifice myself in the process, regardless of how much work it took to be able to provide that for other people. And that's how it started. And when we first started in Exercise for Less, they sold what was called welcome packs back in the day. So it was like a water bottle, a backpack, or not even a backpack. Do you remember those string packs you used to
Yeah,
get from like
yeah, the drawstring one.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. That also came with 2 personal training sessions. And initially, when I first started, obviously I didn't have any clients, so you would pay a certain amount of rent. So I think it was like £25 a week, 15 hours on the gym floor. That would be inductions, but you weren't allowed to take the PT sessions on your induction time or your gym floor time, and so on and so forth. So I would be literally packed out with inductions, my full 15 hours for the week. I would be taking 5 classes, and then the rest of the time I'd be walking the floor. So for the first 6 weeks until I got my paying client, I was in the gym from when it opened at 6 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night, doing the inductions, doing the classes, walking the gym floor, offering additional free services, speaking to everyone that came through the door. When all the other PTs were in the fucking staff room, I was standing welcoming everyone in, so they knew that I was the first person they would see. So
yeah,
100%, everyone in classes, like I was just showing myself, my humour. I was just being real. I wasn't trying to be too like fitness person, because I realised that people just wanted kind of real people, and that was why a lot of people would buy into you. Because I realised very early on, like, you buy into people because of who they are, and you buy into what they do because of who they are in many cases. So, mate, I worked relentlessly for 6 weeks plus. But it took me 6 weeks to get the first paying client. And I actually remember I went home, and do you remember the ISO bags, like the packed and prepped bags that you used to get to carry your food around in?
like the 6-pack bags almost.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Something like that, yeah. I remember I came home, and my mum, my dad, everyone had chipped in to buy me one of these bags because I was going through prep at the time as well for a physique show. And mate, I just burst into tears because I was just so tired. I was just fucking so exhausted. But it was more. It wasn't tears of I'm just so tired. It was tears of this is the first accomplishment and a number of accomplishments that I want to achieve throughout my career.
yeah,
And regardless of how many clients I took on, any spare time that I would have on the gym floor, talking to people, introducing myself to people, additional free sessions, let me show you what I can do, building relationships with people, I just never fucking stopped.
yeah. So like the key thing there is the proactiveness, and like you touched on there, there's a lot of. I had the same experience as well. So we've got a very similar story actually. But I remember being in gyms, and you would see 3 or 4 personal trainers just always in the staff room, always in reception, and they would only come out of their cave when a paying client was actually there, and they always put shit on the people who were doing really well. But those people that were doing really well, like you've said, and the key thing there is the proactiveness. Like you wasn't just sat in reception, sat in the staff room. You were doing your hours, paying your rent, but you were living on the gym floor, making those connections and being proactive with things. And I think that's a really important thing to actually highlight, because I think a lot of people have lost that today, especially with the online world as well. They create a bit of content. They're like, oh, why aren't people inquiring? I'm like, well, who are you speaking to? I'm sure you see that all the time. Have you even spoken to another human being today? Well, no, but I've posted this content. Yeah, yeah, it doesn't work like that.
There is genuinely so much entitlement. Like I think it's a bit crazy, and people become disillusioned. I think because they're very overconsumed. They're watching
Yeah,
so many other people, and they only ever measure the surface level results. So like that person's hitting 10K, why can't I? Now, to be fair, I like that mindset. Like if they can hit it, I can hit it too, of course. But you're not looking at the things that you need to do to hit that 10K.
yes, yeah, exactly.
You're just expecting that, oh, I see this person post that content 7 days a week, so I can just post content 7 days a week and then I'll get them. But you're not looking at how skilled that person is, how emotionally intelligent that person is, how much work that person puts in every single day, what they've had to invest in to get the results they get. And I'm just like, you don't look at any of this. And until you do, the thing that will always bring the results is the amount of skills that you have. And if you're more skilled, then you're warranting more people to invest in you.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I would say the biggest thing that stood out to myself when we first met, when I first obviously met you and Jen at that, it was in Leicester, wasn't it? That seminar that we
Yeah.
both went to, was the level of retention that you actually had from your clients. What would you say that I can't even remember what it was. Was it the average was over 2 years or something crazy like that you guys are holding clients for? Not in their own will, of course.
We're just shacking them there. We're just what?
They're retaining clients in a good way. I just wanted to
Yeah.
point that out. But what would you say the secret to that success is? Because I know there's a lot of coaches where they'll have clients come in for like a month and then leave, and then they get frustrated. And like, what would you say the secret to that success actually is in regards to holding that client base for a really, really long amount of time?
Yeah, oh mate, such a good question. And people always just ask us. So our average retention was over 2 years, and the best it was for the entire year at one point it was only 2.4%, which is for a year is fucking wild, right? And even I, at the time was like, how have I done this, right? But I think a lot of the time when something is quite instinctually and intuitively kind of like easy for you, like that you've developed over time. You've just kind of got an act for it. You don't always kind of reflect upon it. But I've been doing that as we've been finalising the build for this new program this month, and I've really been distilling like a lot of lessons now. It starts with you first and foremost. I follow a structure in business, which it's human first, coach second, business owner last. I don't ever think you should be done in reverse. I think a lot of mentors, not you included, because Josh genuinely is one of the good cunts. A lot of them work in reverse, where it's like the business is the most important thing, then it's like the coaching of your clients, and then your human last. But I always focused on it in the opposite way. So people would trust me because I had their genuine best interests at heart. Like I would tell clients if I seen them going through a process, for example, where fat loss was actually more detrimental to their like mental state, and that was their goal, I would say this is not a priority for you right now. We need to look at how we improve this thing first, because I can see these signs. It doesn't mean that I can't help you, but we need to part fat loss. And a lot of coaches won't do that because they'll just be so focused on the result. They'll just be so focused on getting the result in the quickest time frame, because they're like, well, if I show that to the public, then I'm going to get more clients. But your reputation stands the test of time above anything else. And I've never wanted to sever my reputation, but my reputation is just who I am as a person. My brand is who I am as a person. Like how we do things is just who I am as a person. So it comes down to you first and having that approach, I think. The second thing is being very strict with driving and setting expectations for the standards that you expect from people. And we used to get like 50 to 60 plus clients show up at some of our events, and people would always ask me like, how do you do that? Because it wasn't like photo shoot clients or anything like that. It was just gen pop clients that were mainly focused on fat loss or performance or muscle building, but the way that we approached it was all through kind of behavior change. So for me, it was driving expectations all of the time, which again, coaches, I think, sometimes think that they don't have to put a lot of work into their clients to build something special, but they do. And the work doesn't just come from the person's journey, it comes from their contribution inside of your community as well, and how you create a community that is obviously aspiring to be a part of. So if, for example, we were doing our weekly live call structure and there was a topic of conversation that week that 10 of our clients were struggling with, I would make them aware at the call the week before, this is the call that we're having next week. You should be there. I would tell them throughout the week that they should be there. I'd tell them on the day of it, they should be there. And also, if they never showed up, I would chase them. And I'd ask them why. And I'd remind them that this journey's for them. Like, if they want my help, they need to give their 50%. So there was clear standards, clear expectations. I would contribute more to my community than other people would. Coaches will be like, oh, posted in my community, I didn't get any response, so I just stopped. Well, I'm sorry. Retention, just like you said, and building a community is proactive, right?
Yes.
Would you post a bit of content, go, oh, that never worked, and never post a bit of content again? No, you wouldn't. You have to work at building a strong community and a strong culture and understand the values that you're trying to create in that place. And that will help with retention, because people will stay for the people that they meet. You connect them with others that are similar to them. We used to have accountability pods where I actually picked out clients who had similar values, similar personalities, and we had like 10 accountability pods with like anywhere between 7 to 10 people in there who were posting their daily goals, their stats. They were just having a laugh with each other. And a lot of them ended up like going weekends away and all that with each other because they built such strong relationships and friendships. And
yes,
they always used to refer to it as like being in a cult. Like, we feel like we're in a cult. And I'm like, you kind of are, but not in a pure sadistic, like, let's kill ourselves type of way. But it's just, yeah, it's just that the culture here is different from the culture outside of this program and your day-to-day life. Like, the other people that you surround yourself with are not acting the way that you want to act. It doesn't mean that you still shouldn't be friends with them and stuff. Like, see this whole cut people out of your life and get rid of them if they don't align. Like, my schoolmates are some of the best people in my life. They're not really into their health and fitness. They do things that I wouldn't do, but they're genuinely great fucking people, and I've got them for the necessary needs that
Yeah.
need to be met outside the business and all that. So I think there needs to be clear, driven expectations, reinforcement of that throughout. You need to be
Yes.
yourself. You need to be a leader, which is basically not making everything fucking about you, right?
Yes.
Because coaches these days make so much about themselves instead of making it about the people that they're working with. So, as I said at the beginning, I'm happy to sacrifice myself in need of other people's progress and their development.
Yeah.
Obviously, there still needs to be boundaries in place and stuff. I'm very strict with my own boundaries, and I'm very strict with the fact that I know what I can give, but other people need to uphold their end of the bargain as well to accomplish that. But
Yes.
I wanted to work so hard that no one could ever say, if they were ever leaving my program or not getting a result, that it was down to me. I wanted them to go, that was a me problem, because
Yeah.
they could not have done anything more for me. So I think putting that amount of work in, and driving the expectations consistently, chasing people up behind the scenes, reminding them why they're here. If they're not fulfilling something you expect of them, ask them why. Why is such a powerful question? Like, why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing that? Tell me what more's going on for you. And that is more work for you as a coach. But if you want to build something special, that's what you have to fucking do.
Yes, I absolutely love this topic. No, I'm just thinking this entire time as you're speaking. I was told by one of my old managers actually when I was employed at David Lloyd,
Right.
when I worked for David Lloyd. She gave me this analogy of every single relationship is like building a bridge.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of people that will build like their 50% and then they'll sit in the middle and they'll just wait for that other person to build their 50%. But there's some people that only have the ability to build their 10% and some need 20%. So you've got to go the other way. And I think that's what a lot of coaches are missing now. And exactly what you just said there, it's the chasing up. It's the holding them accountable. It's holding them to higher standards. It's going above and beyond outside of just there's your plan, there's your pathway, crack on, I'm here if you need me. It's doing those extra things. I actually had one of my clients recently. He moved from London to Nottingham. He'd worked with other mentors before.
Whoa, that's a bad move.
Bit of a controversial one, I know. It was for love, though, Mark.
Oh, right. If it's for love, fair enough, because Nottingham is a shithole.
It's for love. Hey, I'm just outside of Nottingham.
Listen, you're in a nice place outside of Nottingham. I know where you are.
I am, but he made that move up, and I remember messaging him saying, "Do you need any help moving? Do you need any contacts to actually help you move?" And he almost looked stunned on the call that I was actually asking that and offering that because obviously I'm offering a business coaching service, and he was almost stunned. And he sent me a message afterwards saying, "I really didn't expect that." I'm like, well, yeah, I work. That's why I work one to one with people because I know you. It's those little things outside of just getting the result, like you said, or just the pathway, that really help you retain your clients and make them feel part of something that they don't want to leave. And I
Yeah.
think from my experience, that's one of the most important things. If you can keep your clients happy, if they can see a future with you, if they want to be around you, they want to be part of what you're going on, they will stay. And if they're looking at things as a transaction, that's where things can very, very quickly get diminished in regards to that relationship because it's a transaction. Right, fantastic. I've got what I needed out of that transaction. I'll move on to the next transaction. But it's very, very difficult to leave a relationship. And I think that's what credit to you and Jen. You've done a phenomenal job from what I've seen in regards to every single person that comes through. You're creating genuine, real relationships. And that's something that I'm massive on as well. So kudos to both of you in regards to that.
But that's why you're successful as well, mate. Why people hold you in high regard, again, it's like there's things here that are leaving clues for people that feel like they don't have that, and it's funny you say that as well because I even think back to like when I was running my coaching program, we would incentivize so much, or like even if I had a call with a client and I had a book recommendation that I said to them and they would go, "Oh, I'll get that," I would just send them it.
Yeah.
Or I would do things sometimes where I'm like, guys, there's been great contribution in the community this week. I've just stuck £200 in a Costa card. Go get yourselves a coffee. You know what I mean? Just wee things like that, and you might be going off £200 in coffee, but it's not. It's the point of it. Like we had a client recently. He's going to Thailand in August, and he messaged me saying, "Would you be up for doing an intensive day if I stopped over in Dubai?" And I was like, "Mate, would love to." And he was like, "Give me costs and so on and so forth." But we were in the process of getting a couple of inquiries from people that he knew. And, I love nothing more than vibing with people like yourself and other people who will refer and say nice things about you without expecting anything in return. And then those people ended up kind of signing up to the new program, and I just messaged them and I was like, listen, have you booked your hotel yet? And he was like, no. So I just booked him 3 nights in Dubai and was like, that's a thank you from me for sending people our way and speaking highly of us, and I'll do the intensive day for free when you're here. So
Yes.
it's like that in total could maybe what cost me £1,000, but the relationship and the preservation of that relationship is worth so much more.
Yeah, it's such an important topic, and like any coaches that are watching this, it's like, what are you doing outside of the training and nutrition plan? Like, what are you actually doing as a coach? What are you actually doing as a professional? What are you actually doing to build a real, genuine relationship with each and every one of your clients? Do you know their partners' names? Do you know their kids' names? Do you know what? Do you know their story? Do you know what they like, what they don't like? Do you actually know that person individually, or are you just looking at their body weight, their height, and sending them their training plan, nutrition plan, and that's all you're doing, and then spending your entire time posting selfies on Instagram?
Yeah.
Like, because there's a lot of coaches that do that, and it's a really important topic. Obviously, myself and you, Mark, are very, very selfless. I was going to say givers, but I changed the terminology very.
Speak for yourself, mate.
Yeah. We're very selfless, right? So, what would you say to people who aren't naturally selfless? Because we've got a similar story, and we both naturally are. From your story, obviously, my background as well. What would you say to coaches who are obviously they're seeing the industry, they're seeing the career path as a coach, they're seeing the impact they can have, maybe the success that they've got, but they're not naturally selfless? What would you say to those coaches?
That's actually, mate, that's probably one of the best questions that anyone's ever asked me. So I think what you have to understand is that the brain works in predictive loops. So the things that you've done before will give you feedback on how something will continue to be moving forward. So it works in maps, it works in loops. So say, for example, you have a fabulous client, right? For example, who the predictive look for them is that they can only ever lose so much weight before it stalls, and then they never get past that point, and then they end up rebounding back to the start. That's mainly just because it's all that person knows, right? And if you're a skilled coach, then you're going to be looking at how can I get this person to change that belief about how they view this thing so that they can move forward and we can actually create new maps and predictive loops that something works. So the same thing I think happens for coaches where they do get some form of feedback from what they're doing. So they might be making some form of progress in their business, they might be making decent money, but there's limiting kind of factors that are stopping them from moving forward. So their churn is higher, their retention rate isn't as good, they are not building those really strong relationships. They maybe feel, we hear this a lot, by the way, where people say, I feel like I know when clients are going to churn. And my response to that, it comes back to exactly what you said, mate, is proactivity. If you've seen patterns and trends of someone becoming disengaged, or you've started to see them act differently, communicate differently, why have you not approached that when you started to see it happen? So that's the kind of proactive stuff. So if you already have evidence to say that something is working in your desired favor, right, but everything's not perfect, you now need to start working on building new predictive loops of trying things a different way. So whenever you want to change any behavior, you need to experiment with it, because you're never going to find the behavior that you want to develop unless you experiment with. I mean, the first one could always work for you, but it might take the third behavioural experiment to figure out what actually works for you. So being more selfless, it could be something exact. For example, like, do you know, I go to the gym, and not me. Let's just say this is a fitness coach. You know those fitness coaches that take 3 hours out their day to go train in the afternoon and also want to build their business at the same time. Whereas obviously I'm a couple of head in Dubai, so by the time I'm sitting at my desk, which is usually like 7:30, if I look at my Instagram stories, Josh is on the treadmill because he's also up early in the UK, right? So we do that so we can sit down and we can actually work at our job, like, and do our job during the day. So say, for example, you're training for 3 hours during the day. Maybe you should try a behavioural experiment of training in the morning, even if you don't want to, right? Because you need to sacrifice yourself a little bit. And let's see what those additional 3 hours in your day could do. Maybe you can spend that time speaking with clients. And there's this thing as well where it's like it's really important to talk to your clients about their life and not just about the progress. So, like, as you said, knowing parents' names, partners' names, dogs' names, kids' names, like their favourite hobbies, their sports team, so that if the conversation has just been about their progress, health and fitness, you can actually go, you know what, see with that additional time I have, I'm just going to reach out to all my clients and be a human and ask them how the weekend was, ask them this, ask them that. Like, there's so many of my clients where I'm a Liverpool fan down south, I'm a Rangers fan up in Scotland. But I've got so many.
You can't have two teams. You can't
No,
have two.
no, Rangers are my first team. Liverpool's my second team on reserve. So when Rangers are losing, I'm a Liverpool fan. Which has been a lot recently.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of clients who are like Man United fans, for example. So
Yeah.
before I even talk about anything with them, business related, like coaching related, anything, I'll just be like, haha, do you see Man United's result of the weekend? Fucking you must have cried yourself to sleep. Just build relationships, having jokes with them, and it's those wee additional things that like genuinely will make people feel more connected, like you actually fucking care.
Yeah.
So your routine might work for you for what you think you want, but I can guarantee that there's a multiple different ways that you could be doing it differently to make it better.
Yes, yeah, and obviously we've both had. I love that. We both had the privilege of working face to face and
Yeah.
on the gym floor and building connections in person. Obviously, we had the pandemic in 2020 until however it kind of lasted for, and then we came off the back of that, and there was this influx now of people going online and this influx of people starting their career online without the in-person aspect to it. So we've had that ability of building these connections face to face and really, like you said, those predictive loops, really, really love that terminology. But kind of testing things out face to face from person to person to person, probably speaking to 100, 200 people every single day face to face. So, what advice would you give to someone in regards to building those real, genuine connections and relationships online if they've never had that face to face experience and they're going straight into online?
Okay, you're hitting it with all the good questions today.
I'm new to this.
Such a common question because obviously when we help health and fitness coaches actually understand what coaching is, right? Coaching is not what you believe it to be in the industry, right? What coaching is that you believe it to be is actually mentoring or teaching. Very
Yes.
rarely will people actually coach, but some people, even though they might not know exactly what coaching is, do have good coaching instinct and intuition, right?
Mhm.
That's how me and Jenny ended up collaborating on this because I had good coaching instinct and intuition, even when I hadn't understood the theory. Then I had to learn the theory to go, oh, this is why I think this way. you know, so people are in their own way stronger at some things, not so strong at other things, and so on and so forth. But the only way that I'd built that coaching instinct and intuition was yes, because I probably had a degree of it already, but it was through the reps. And I see so many coaches so scared to build instinct and intuition because the only way that you can build it is by getting it wrong and trying different things. Because once you go, okay, I've implemented that, it went wrong, maybe I shouldn't have done that, and then you do things a different way and it works, and then it continues to work as well, like for the that you feel it's best to work for, you then develop this almost approach where it's like I'm not scared to take action on this because I know that the feedback's going to benefit me, and I also know that it's going to mean that I'll make less mistakes moving forward in the future because I'm getting things right. So the conversations on the gym floor and having people in person with you, that is the exact thing that helps you build. So I think skipping it is such a bit of a red flag because there's this thing that happens online where in person the conversations flow very naturally, right? Because you're in between sets just talking about life, you're talking about what they're up to at the weekend. Some people you can see when they come in that they're not looking that great, and it's like, are you okay? If you can actually have that conversation on the gym floor, and people will open up, and sometimes they'll just slip things into general conversations, and you're like, oh, wait a second, what did you just say? So the same doesn't happen online. So when people come to calls online, that they know that there's a purpose behind that call. So let's say, for example, you've got a client who is struggling, and then you book in a call with them. They know the purpose behind that call is that you're going to ask them why they're struggling. Now,
Yes.
on the gym floor, if someone shows up to a session because they're like, right, this is going to make me feel better, they come in, you're a good enough coach to see they're upset, you ask them why, you can then have a conversation about it. But online, people can easily just avoid that conversation. And
Yeah.
they can just fucking go, I'm cancelling the call, I'm not coming along, I'm leaving your coaching program, and then they block you on Instagram. So it's so much easier to do that online. That's why when you're trying to build an online business, you need to have a foundational understanding of how to build relationships so that when people are coming to calls, they're excited to come to calls because even if they are struggling with things, they're like, this person's going to help me overcome this thing, not
Yeah.
give me a hard time for it.
Yeah, yeah. Communication is massive, and I don't know if you found this as well, because obviously we're in similar fields. But there's the clients that I have that come on board who have entered the industry straight into online. I find that the communication skill set is by far the worst
Yeah.
in regards to, in comparison to people who have actually had conversations and connections with people online. For example, hey Josh, like how do I respond to this message? Well, it's just you're in the middle of a conversation. Obviously, I'll help them, I'll guide them through, and I'll teach them how to communicate with people properly. But it is by far the biggest difference that I've seen of the coaches who have come in post COVID and the coaches who are in the industry pre-COVID. By far, the biggest difference, those communicational skills. And I think with that, there comes a lot of self-doubt, a lot of lack of confidence in them as a coach as well. And then it stems into a lot of comparison to successful coaches on social media. And it's this negative spiral. And I see it comes from just that lack of communication skills, that lack of being able to actually build a genuine connection and a real connection with other human beings, because all they've ever known is behind the phone.
Yeah.
That's all they've ever known. So it's how do we combat that? And obviously people like yourself, me as well, obviously we're helping coaches do that. But there's also a lot of coaches out there, and this is what I kind of want to stem this conversation into, is investing into yourself. We come from a background where I've spent six figures on mentors, coaches, courses, events, etc. I'm pretty sure you have as well. But new coaches coming in, they feel like I can do it myself. I don't need to hire a mentor or a coach or this, that. Whereas it took me 7 years on my own before a mentor even existed. And then as soon as a mentor did come around, I fucking bit his hand off because I wanted to fast track and absorb that information like a sponge. And I feel like coaches now don't have that ability where they treat investing in themselves with the same respect that we did. And I don't want this to be a comparison of older fitness professionals and newer fitness professionals. The whole purpose of this is to make the newer fitness coaches better and more impactful and great coaches. So yes, there is a level of comparison there to a certain degree because I think it's important. But what would you say to new coaches that are coming in or who are just very preserved? They're trying to hold on to every penny that they've got and they're just trying to do everything themselves when there's this abundance of opportunity that's only a bank transfer away. And it can literally fast track the hell out of you and your career and your knowledge and your ability as a coach. Ignore the business side for the time being. Obviously, what you guys do in regards to retaining clients and coaching a lot better, it's literally a transaction away. Whereas when we started, we were on blogs. we were like going through YouTube and like, do you remember the old blogs back in the day where
Yeah.
we'd sit there just reading through a big, like almost newspaper article, so to speak. So what would your advice be to those new coaches now in regards to investing in themselves?
Yeah. I mean, I actually think it's a very fair comparison because I feel like the way to learn and the way to grow and the way that you want to grow will always come down to your ability to listen to people talk and then take what you think is most relevant for you. So if you're someone that's sitting here right now listening to this going, I actually do really align with the approach that Mark and Josh both took, brilliant. If you're someone that's listening to this and you're like, you know, I kind of maybe don't align that much, but actually it makes sense what they've done. So I maybe will take parts of this, but not all of it. We are just trying to, again, fast track your way to success by showing you what risks are associated and so on and so forth. But I think I said this to you before we hit record, and Josh was like, I should have hit record before. I'm like, we actually started talking. But yeah, but obviously because we've had both of these, Built to Coach was a course. It genuinely was a course. So it was like a course that you would pay for X amount of time and you would graduate from it and then you would pay us again. Whereas now it's getting more combined into like a program, whereas Built for Business was a program. So with running both of these, I've had people reach out that's obviously saying I was running both of these things on social media and they would be like, okay, I'm reaching out to inquire in the business side of things. And I would say, right, okay, tell me how long you've been in the industry, tell me what you want to achieve, tell me what you're struggling with. And then they would say, oh, I'm struggling with churn. And I'm like, okay, well, that's funny because you've told me you need the business stuff when actually you've got high churn, which actually comes down to your product. And your product is your coaching. And if your coaching isn't good, then you need to improve that department instead of focusing on the business. Because if you scale the business, which people can do if they're good at marketing, you're just going to have a bigger problem you can't solve when it comes to churn that you can't handle.
Leaky bucket, so to speak.
Mate, 100%. And I don't understand why the number one law that I focus on with everything that I do, and I think that you'll probably be the same, even if you've maybe never thought about it before, but you definitely approach it with your actions, is the law of reciprocal equity. So just adding as much value as you possibly can to attract the right people to you, and doing the same in your coaching so that people are like, this person just blows my mind. That this person is the exact person I should have been invested in. But reciprocal equity in the value that you add only comes from the amount of value you store. And the amount of value you store can only be gained through paying money to invest in your skill set. And it's funny because I never really even knew a lot of the time why I was investing in these courses. So it wasn't like I wasn't heavily clued up on nutrition, and that's why I joined Mac Nutrition. It was this is the difference actually. This is the key difference. I never done it because I wanted to be out of pain or achieve a goal. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm so frustrated only earning 3K a month right now and I want to earn 10. So this course is going to solve the problem for me. I only ever invested in courses because I wanted to be better. I wanted to go from being better than most to being the best, instead of I'm in a lot of pain right now, so I am going to invest to fix the pain that I'm in. That never works. Even for your clients, it doesn't work. So I think the intention behind why they invest is so important. So like again, if someone reaches out to me and they're like, I want the business service, but the only intention that they have to go to the next level, whatever that means, which is what most people tend to say, they'll say, oh, because I want to make X amount of money. And I'm like, okay, so you're only focused on that. That's the only intention. And with that intention, you're missing out on all the things, kind of like what we discussed earlier, that you actually need to do to make more of that money, because you need to become more valuable. If you don't become more valuable, then how can you expect to grow your business?
Yeah, 100%. And I know it might be controversial, but in my opinion, anyone that is like that and they have conversations with me, and I turn people away like this when I get on like a call or a conversation and say, I want to earn 10K a month. Why?
Yeah.
And they stumble and they can't answer you. Okay, you're not right for this industry, because you can go and make money online doing anything now. You can drop ship, you can do e-com, you can fucking sell anything. You can do anything. So if you want, if your intention is to make money, go and make money elsewhere. But as a service provider, as a coach, like you said, you have to be human first. And I really like that order of the way that you do things, because ultimately that is the core of your entire career, and the money then comes as a byproduct. If your number one focus is the money, and then it's human last, like you said, the opposite to what you do, it just doesn't work. You don't last very long, and that's where you see a lot of coaches come in and come out. And this is, any coaches listen to this. This is why me and Mark have been in the fitness industry for over a decade. This is why we're still here and still thriving, because we put our clients first. We put those genuine relationships first. It's not about earning a quick buck over the next year or two and then trying to get out as quickly as possible. You've got to care. You really do have to care. So no, I love this conversation. I love this conversation. I'm just looking at some of my additional questions that you got, that I've got written down just here. So what would your number one advice be for fitness professionals now? So with everything that we've actually just discussed, if you could give a fitness professional, an online coach coming into the market today, what would those first initial steps be that you would actually advise that they do? So before they chase those higher mounting goals, before they work towards becoming the person they want to become, what are those actionable steps that you would advise someone completely fresh, just coming into the game?
Yeah, I would actually probably study your own values first, because see, until you do, you don't actually realize how much values you're carrying from what you think you should be carrying, because of other people, like almost like telling you, or you looking at people on social media thinking, oh, I want that thing. Here's something really like important to understand. Things that you value as an adult are usually the things that you were void of as a child. So if you were void of, like we were void of money when I was a kid, right? So for me, the value was, yes, I want to have more money, but how I achieved that and why I wanted to achieve that needed to be at the core of everything that I did. So my value of wealth, and not even money, it's wealth. So wealth of making sure that my family are taken care of, they're safe, they don't need to worry, they're protected. That's the wealth side for me. And money is the thing that allows me to create that safety and stability. And yeah, mate, exactly that. So I think you need to understand your values, why you want to achieve the thing you do, and then dictate based upon your values how to get it. Because any decisions that ever feel like rocky at the core only ever come down to the fact that you're not making values based decisions. So I would do that, and then I would ask yourself the one question of, what is the best and most number one acquired skill that I can invest in right now to get me closer to that, and go and invest in it. Simple.
Love it. Love that. Love that. Mark, we can speak all day.
Maybe actually, we should do one of those, next time I'm in the UK. We should do one of those like 4 hour like Joe Rogan podcasts.
We'll just go live. The thing is, though, it's so easy when you have good communication skills. You can actually speak to people. You get on. You share similar values, and yeah, I can speak to you all day. So one thing that I want to try and leave a lot of these conversations on is what defines a successful coach to you. Because this the whole purpose of this. I want coaches to come in and find their own level of success. It could be earning a couple of grand a month and actually leaving your employed job, and then you get to wake up and help people every single day. That could be success to you. It could be being the best coach in the world in your industry. That could be success. Like, success means so many different things, and success isn't defined by what you see on social media. It's what you define. So what does success mean to you? As what does a successful coach actually mean to you?
Great question, and I think for me, it would be a successful coach would be someone that gives more than they take.
I like that.
Dead simple, like dead simple, but it's got a lot of depth to it. So I see this all the time where coaches will ask me, how do I build a thriving community? But they only take in the communities that they're a part of. So there's this that like coaches will say all the time, if you want to get clients in a photo shoot shape, you need to do a photo shoot yourself. See, if you want clients that contribute inside of your community, you need to be the highest contributor in communities that you're a part of. It can't work any differently from that. So unless you give more than you take, you will always feel as though you've never really cracked it. Because I think when people give more than they take, they're also a lot more resourceful as well. And this is where I see a lot of coaches go wrong now. It's you see the whole conversation we had earlier about the message the person sent you and said, how can I respond to this? What I'll do in many cases is I'm like, right, you've been conditioned that this should just be handed to you. So I'll always just say, how would you respond to it? How do you think you should respond to it?
Exactly what I do.
Yeah. So it's that way where I'm like, and I've actually seen this a lot from people who have just jumped into business mentors, where they've never actually been. This is why I always prefer to call myself a business coach than a mentor, because the business mentors are very much conditioning people for just sales, DMs, just that. And the only way that they can help them with that kind of strategy, if you even want to call it that, is we will help you get better at your conversations in the DM. So they'll just send screenshots in and say, how did that apply to this potential prospect? And then they'll give them the answer. So then it's just taking away the need for them to find the answer on their own. Whereas resourcefulness is the thing that will literally stand the test of time and make you successful. So if you can give more than you can take, even if you think giving sometimes isn't the right answer, but you're willing to get it wrong. So I see that sometimes from clients in my community where they'll contribute and then someone will come in with something better. But the great coaches will say, oh, do you know what? That was a great point. And I've actually just learned so much from that other reply. They didn't go, oh my God, I got it wrong. That person outshun me. They've been like brilliant. I got to contribute and also take from that conversation and learn from that conversation because I was willing to give. So I would say give more than you take.
I love that. I'm going to be collecting that from every single person that I speak to. But Mark, as always, thank you for your time. You're always willing to give your time to me. So thank you so much. Where can people find you? And Jen as well. We'll mention Jen.
Yeah. So Jen, for anyone that's wondering who this mystery woman is, Jen is my business partner for Built Coaching. We're obviously merging the programs together now, so we're kind of like business partners in the kind of like entire sense. But Jen is probably the only real coach inside the health and fitness industry. She's not a health and fitness coach. She's an accredited behaviour change coach. She used to do work with like coaching and leadership execs that had portfolios of 9 figures, teams of 5,000. So she has coached some of the people at the highest fucking level to progress and manage team and all that. So Jen is currently, she's 6 weeks behind Jem, I think. Jen and Jem.
That's why she's here today, yeah.
So Jen is currently like 33 weeks pregnant, I think. So she's going off soon, but you can find us on Instagram. My name is Mark Strathern _. Jen's is coach.with.jen. Our podcast channel, we've got a podcast as well called the Built for Life podcast that will be changing to Built for Coaches podcast with a new program redesign. And on YouTube, you can find me as Mark Strathern's channel. I can't remember Jen's off the top of my head because she literally just created it yesterday. But we've got a bank that's going out, so there will be stuff there by the time. So if you follow Jen on Instagram, you'll see it live. Oh,
Yeah, excellent, excellent. I'll attach all of their contact details obviously below. This will be on YouTube. I'm not going to put it anywhere else. It's just
nice.
for YouTube. So I'll attach everything below as well. But no, Mark, thank you again. Thank you.
No, thank you for having me, mate. Pleasure.